Mr. Gray will see you now. Hi, welcome to a new video. Welcome to a new episode of I Consume series. I am really excited for this one because I have actually been dying to read and watch these movies for a very long time. I am, of course, talking about the one, the only 50 Shades of Grey. I remember going to church. I was a young teenager, and I remember older women bringing this book to church to read, okay? Like, that in and of itself is kind of a cultural reset. Like, what other series can say that they had literal church-going women reading pornography at church? Like, that's... You gotta give E.L. James her props, okay? So what I understand about these books is that they're basically Twilight fan fiction, okay? It's like the author wrote this with Bella and Edward in mind, just put them in a different situation where he's like a billionaire and she signs a sex contract with him. I don't blame her at all for writing this, by the way. Like, I see the vision and I don't hate her for it at all. So there's 50 Shades of Grey, and then I think 50 Shades Darker sounds like it might be the second one, and then 50 Shades Free might be the third one. Like, I would think that being free would be the third one. I don't know what that means, free. Like, do they stay together? I have no idea. I'm just guessing there. I don't actually know if that's the order, so I'll find out obviously as I keep reading and like do more research on it. But the plan is to read the first book, watch the first movie, read the second book, watch the second movie, read the third book, watch the third movie, right? And lucky for me, the first movie is already on Netflix and the second and third movie is coming in like 5 days. So perfect timing. I literally didn't even know that. I just happened to plan it like that, and then I saw it on Netflix. It was like coming soon, and it was one of the 50 Shades, like the second or the third one, and I was like, oh my god. I was thinking that I was gonna have to rent them, and I wasn't excited about the prospect of that, but I was like, anything for you guys, anything for you guys. And now I get to watch it for free on Netflix, which is great. Basically, expectations, I'm here to have fun, okay? I feel like I've read a lot of really good books lately, but a lot of like literary books, you know, like real fiction, like it's been edited over and over and like it was written in mind to be a bestseller. This is just like fan fiction that happened to become a bestseller, okay? I'm ready to have a fun time. I'm ready to have a sexy time. I'm excited to be excited about this, and I'm sure it's bad. I'm sure it's gonna be bad. The expectations are low. I'm just excited to read something fun, and I hope it doesn't get on my nerves. I hope that I can just tunnel vision it and have a fun time reading a silly, goofy book. And without further ado, 50 Shades of Grey, we're starting now. She was a virgin, and he did that? Disgusting. Disgusting. Hey, okay, I finished 50 Shades of Grey. Finally finished the book. I'm gonna get right into it because I don't want this video to become 3 hours long. A little preamble, I guess. We have our main girly, Anastasia Steele. She is not like other girls, okay? She wears jeans. She reads British literature, but only from like before the 1950s, okay? She drives a really old Volkswagen Beetle, and she is just now graduating from college, okay? She's also extremely innocent, like to the point where it's unbelievable. Like, she's a virgin. That's fine, girly. No problem there. She has never masturbated. A little unbelievable because you're in your early 20s and you're just now graduating college and you've never... Okay, she doesn't know what a lot of things are sexually, okay? She has never been introduced to that kind of side of the world, okay? Anastasia, she is filling in for her best friend Kate. Her best friend Kate is a journalist for the school paper, and she's supposed to go interview this CEO, and she is sick. She's so sick, and she begs her roommate Anastasia to go to this guy's job and interview him. She's like, it's gonna be easy, the questions are there, you just have to ask him, you know, record it, and that's that. It's not a big deal, please do this for me and everything. And she's like, okay, I'll do it for you, BFF, I got you, friend. So she goes to Gray Enterprises, is that what it's called? I don't know. The place where the man works, okay? And then here we enter Mr. Christian Grey. Christian Grey, he's extremely problematic. He has a little charm to him. He's incredibly wealthy. He's extremely handsome. Like, it's hard not to be a person in this book and not be absolutely enthralled with him, right? So they meet at his job. She does the interview. She believes that the interview goes really poorly, and that's because, let's just go ahead and get right into my first highlight here. It says, I push open the door and stumble through, tripping over my own feet and falling head first into the office. I literally laughed out loud. You can't be for real. You can't be serious in telling me that the first time our girl meets him, she falls flat on her face in his office. Okay, that is so funny. She's bumbling over the interview. She asks him questions that make him uncomfortable. She's uncomfortable. She's just like, this was weird. I'm out of here. I'm clearly not meant for this. Like, you know, she finishes up the interview real quick and, you know, hightails it out of there. She works at a hardware store and she's at work like the next day, and who shows up to her work? Christian Grey. He comes up to her, he's like, I need some help. And she's like, okay, what are you looking for? And he's like, rope. She's like, okay, we have rope over here. And then he wants like, I don't know what it is. I literally, like, I've never hardly ever been in a hardware store in my life, but he wants like these cables, I guess, like, I'm giving it away there. He wants these cables that are flexible. Okay, he's just like asking her for all this stuff, and she's like very nervously helping him get the things that he needs, right? He like asks her questions, gets to know a little bit more about her. He kind of finagles his way into like a photo shoot with Kate for the journalist like article, right? Like, they just keep meeting, like they just keep seeing each other, and then he finally asks her out for a coffee, and she's like, okay, yeah, sure. They talk about her interests, talk about like her favorite books, talk about like just the things that she likes, right? Like, he's trying to get to know her, and he's not giving a lot of information about himself. He sends the first gift to her house. He sends her hardcover first edition copies of like her favorite books, including Tess of the Dubervilles, which I've never read. But yeah, he's just like lavishing her, you know, and he's trying to like get her to keep talking with him, but she's just like, I don't get it. Like, he is so high above me, okay? Like, I am nobody. I have no experience in anything. I don't know why this really, really hot guy is like pining after me like this. What's going on? She ends up drunk dialing him one night, and she gets low-key sexually assaulted by her best friend. He's like making a move on her and making out with her, and she's telling him no and pushing him away, and he won't stop. And then, you know, who shows up? A Christian Grey in his fast car, a la Edward. Okay, that's another thing. There are so many instances where this book is definitely, you can just tell it was inspired by Twilight, okay? And that's fine. I don't hate it for that, but there are a lot of things where I'm just like, you couldn't be more original, bestie. Just like that thing where like the guy is coming onto her and then he speeds up in his car. He takes her back to his place because she's really drunk, and he's like, you can't drive home, like I'm taking you to my place. I don't remember, I don't know. And he tells her that he wants to have a sexual relationship with her, and she's like, okay, yeah, I'm down. You know, she just like she has no problem with it, but he's like, but you're gonna have to sign some paperwork. And she's like, the fuck? What do you mean paperwork? He finds out that she's a virgin, and he goes feral. Okay, he immediately just starts salivating. They go over the contract. The contract is like a big point in the book. Basically, what the contract states is that she has to be his submissive and he will be the dominant, and that she has to do everything he wants. If she disobeys his rules, which his rules aren't very terrible, it's things like she must work out 3 times a week, have 3 well-rounded meals, make sure she eats, make sure her stamina is up. They have to like figure out a time where she's his. You know, he wants her from like Friday to Sunday, and in those times she has to do whatever he says. Like, that's just part of the agreement, okay? There's other things like she's not allowed to touch him, she's not allowed to look at him unless he tells her to. It's just very like strict things, and she's like, I don't want to do this. Like, what do you mean? And she's also like, punishment. I don't want to be punished for like, I don't know, missing breakfast. Like, it's very weird, you know? She's very like not for it. And she fights it a lot of the book, okay? He finds out she's a virgin, and he doesn't want her first sexual experience to be like BDSM, right? Like, he takes her to his red room of pain, or sometimes she calls it red room of pleasure, okay? Like, we go back back and forth between those two terms. He's like, I don't want your first experience of sex to be in here, so we're gonna have vanilla sex. And he's like, I've never done this before. And she's like, what do you mean you've never had just like regular sex, like you've only ever had BDSM sex? And she's like, what was your first sexual experience like? And he tells her that his first relationship with a woman was when he was, 15 or 16? And she's older, she's married with a husband, and he was the sub and she was the dom. Okay, so she's a pedophile. Okay, and Anastasia tells him that, like, all throughout the book. Like, low-key, I kind of like her. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she sticks her ground. She is very like, I'll try things and I'm down to figure things out with you, but like, you have to compromise with me. And he's not used to that. He's not used to being told no. I have a lot of issues with, but her, honestly, not so much. But she goes on to say, like, okay, this Mrs. Robinson is what they call her, literally pedophiled you, okay? And I can't believe that you think this is okay. And he's like, oh, it's fine. We're friends. We're business partners. Like, get over it, you know? He just, like, doesn't like to talk about his past. He was the son of, he calls her a crack whore, which I hate that term, okay? And then he was adopted by his parents, and he has like a brother and a sister, and they're like all adopted and everything. So he has like a good family. Another thing about Twilight, okay, the adopted family, okay? But basically he's just like not had a good upbringing, not a good childhood. And the only experiences he's ever had with women have been these kind of relationships. I'm guessing it's like he was the sub with Mrs. Robinson, and then he grew up, or the relationship ended because her marriage ended. Like, the husband found out that she was cheating on him with a 15-year-old. Okay, gross. Then after that relationship ended, they stayed friends, they stayed business partners, whatever that means, we haven't found out yet. But all of the other women that he's been with have been in this sub-dom relationship. So he's never had a normal girlfriend, he's never had regular sex, okay? He's only ever had these experiences, okay? And Anastasia is opening up this whole like other world for him because he's so infatuated by her. He's so like enamored with her innocence, and he just wants to exploit it, but also doesn't want to lose her. So it's a really interesting dichotomy between the both of them, because she doesn't want to lose him. She doesn't want to not sign the contract and end up losing him, but she doesn't want to sign the contract because she doesn't agree with it. She's like, I don't want to do these things. I don't want to agree to all of these things with you because I'm going to mess up. You're going to leave me. It's going to be over. I'm going to get hurt. I don't want pain. You know, she's just like, I don't want to do these things. And he doesn't want to say, okay, well, too bad, leave my house, because he is falling in love with her. Like, it's evident, right? He is breaking all his rules for her and everything. Like I said, he's just so enamored with her. He can't fathom not being with her at this point. So he gives in to the things that she wants. When she wants to touch him, sometimes he'll let her. We go through the whole book and she never signs the contract, which is so interesting. She tells him, okay, I'll sign the contract. Like, at one point, they've like compromised and gone back and forth. She's like, I like this, I don't like this, you know, I want this in the contract, I don't want this in the contract, I won't do this, because the contract is full of his do's and don'ts as well, his hard limits, if you will. So then she wants to add her own, which he's okay with, of course. But she still hasn't signed the contract. We get to the end of the book, she still hasn't signed the contract. So it's really just a really interesting play on her trying to control him, okay? That's the vibes I'm getting. And honestly, truly, the way that I'm hoping the book is going to shape up. Not necessarily the way that I think it's going to go, because I don't know if she's actually going to go this way. But I think that it's going to be like, he wants and loves her so bad that he is willing to give up all of the toxic qualities about him and the toxicness that he has had in his past relationships. Granted, I don't think that toxic is the right word, because all of the past relationships that he's had were two consenting adults who wanted to be in this kind of contractual relationship, right? Women who have had experience being submissive before, and he has clearly had the experience of being dominant, okay? But then they didn't work out because either the women started wanting more, they wanted more in a relationship, or they were just like over it. They didn't want to do this anymore with him. So they have just ended, and he's been fine with it. You know, he's like, whatever, I'll find my next one. It's not a big deal, because he's just using it for the power of being a dominant. Like, that's what he likes. He likes having the power over you. He likes being able to inflict the punishment on you. Like, he has issues, okay? He clearly has some issues there. The reason why she doesn't get it also is because he like won't talk to her. Like, he will not open up about his past except for in a few moments. After they have, you know, had their time together and everything, she'll ask him questions and he'll feel free to open up to her. Another thing he's never done is let a woman sleep in his bed, but she sleeps in his bed all the time, okay? Like, he is constantly breaking his own rules for her. Basically, he lavishes her with gifts. Okay, he is very love bomby to her. He introduces her to his family, which is, I didn't think was gonna happen. That was like a very weird scene to me, honestly. And she's just like confused the whole time because she's like, I like him. I don't like this pain he's inflicting on me when I need to be punished, right? Like, when I have broken the rules, he has to punish me. That's part of the agreement, but I don't like it. And also, but I love him, but he's also like showering me with gifts that makes me uncomfortable. She's really like fighting with her mind the whole book, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, the end of the book. Here's the end of the book. Okay, if you didn't want spoilers, I'm about to give them. She can't get over how complicated this relationship is going to be. She wants a loving boyfriend. She wants it to be him. She knows she's in love with him. She enjoys the sex that they have. She enjoys the attention that he gives her. Like, she loves him and he loves her, right? Like, it's very evident they both love each other. And I believe that they say it to each other. I do believe that she says it to him near the end of the book over here. And he's just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't, like, I only want a BDSM relationship. You want me to compromise, and I've compromised and I've done as best I can, but like, I can't give this up. This is what I want, you know? And she's like, okay, fine. You know what? Show me how extreme this relationship could be. Like, show me the worst you want to do to me. He said that he was going to punish her because she rolled her eyes at him, which is one of his hard limits, basically. Like, if you roll your eyes at me, you're gonna get punished, okay? And she tries to run from him, so she's like kind of playing with him, like being flirty and stuff. But when he catches her, it's like, okay, now it's time for your punishment, right? She is like, okay, show me how hard it could be. Like, I want to see what it really could be like with you in a BDSM relationship. Like, give me your worst, basically. He is like, are you sure? She's like, yes. They go to the red room, okay, and he spanks her as hard as he can. And he's spanked her before, okay? They've played in there, they've done a little bondage, except for the first time where she was left very confused because she didn't understand A, why she was so aroused by it, B, why he would want to do this to her, and C, if this is something she really wants. All the other times they have been doing BDSM, he's been very gentle with her. He's been very like soft with her and doing like fun things, okay? Like, nothing extreme, nothing extremely painful, nothing like that. So now she's like, show me your worst. Okay, so he spanks her with a belt and he makes her count to 6, so he gives her 6 lashings, right? And it's hard. Like, it is literally like she's sobbing, she's screaming because of how hard it hurts. It's like uncomfortable to read, right? After they're done, she's like, really? This is what you want to do to me? This, you want me like this? This is how you want to see me? Fuck you. And she leaves him. The book could have ended right there. Honestly, I would have been satisfied. I would have been like, girl, it seems unfinished, but I don't blame you. And also, you showed him, okay? Like, you tried to do this. He tried to compromise with you, and it clearly was not for him. He's clearly way too messed up to, I don't know, make this work for both of you, whereas you have tried to make it work, and he's shown you his worst and you don't like it. Girl, I don't blame you. It's fine. Move on with your life, okay? So that's where the book ends. It is kind of a cliffhanger in a way, which I appreciate because, you know, makes you want to go into the next book. It's not like wrapped up to where you're like, okay, what are we even going to be reading in the second book? It definitely gives you like, okay, what's going to happen now? Like, what's he going to do to get her back, right? Because we know he's gonna get her back. Like, he has to, right? So let me go over my notes. Like I said, there are so many notes, and I'm just gonna kind of talk about them one by one, like down the line. I'm sorry if it seems confusing. Let's just get into it. I was, hold on, how far? 11% of the way through this book, and I was already tired of the word jeans. Put on different pants. I don't care. Or just say, I put on my pants. You do not, like, the word jeans, I'm gonna look it up and tell you how many times the word jeans was in this book, because it was so many. 60 times. This book has the word jeans 60 times. Stop it. That's so annoying. That's mentioning jeans every 8 pages. That's so annoying. Here's the sequence of events. So she meets him at his office. He comes to the hardware store where she works. He kind of finagles a photo shoot so that he can like see her again for the journalist article. And then the next time he sees her, she is at the bar with her friend when he like comes on to her, and he shows up in his car, you know, Edward Cullen style. And she's like, how did you find me? And he goes, I tracked your cell phone, Anastasia. I was immediately like, that was my note, because I was immediately like, what are we doing here? What do you mean? That's what? How did you do that? Like, how did you get a hold of her cell phone in the brief moments of time when you saw her? The last 3 times you saw her. I don't know how he did it. He is a stalker though. Like literally he is a stalker, okay? He follows her around, he tracks her cell phone, he gets her picked up from places all the time. At one point she goes to visit her mom in Georgia, like 3,000 miles away, okay, from Seattle. That's another Twilight thing. Yes, they're in Washington. Her and her mom are like having a drink one day, like, you know, she's been there like 2 days, and her and Christian are talking like the whole time, but she doesn't tell him where she is, nothing like that. He had upgraded her seat to first class without her knowing. You know, she gets there, she had refused to take his private jet, and she gets there and the man who takes her ticket is like, okay, and you've been upgraded to first class. So he somehow finagled that, okay, even though she's the one who bought her ticket. She insisted that he not be a part of that. So her and her mom are like at a hotel, like having a drink at the end of the day, and he's there, he's literally there in the hotel, and they like meet eyes, and she's like, what are you doing here? Why are you at this hotel I'm having a drink at? And he's like, why are you having a drink at the hotel I'm staying at? Stop. It's so stalker. It's so stalker. I didn't hate it. I don't know why. Like maybe because it's a book and because I like let myself get wrapped up in the fantasy of it. I feel like if it happened to me IRL, I would hate it, maybe. But I definitely was kind of like, okay, cutie. Maybe I'm just toxic. I don't know. I hate a lot of his dialogue. I really, really hate his dialogue. Every time they have sex, like literally they're making out, he's pulled her pants off, like we know they're gonna have sex, right? He stops and he's like, I'm going to have you now. Like literally that's so unattractive. Like maybe the first time it'd be like, oh, okay, you're gonna have me, you know, but then like get a little creative. Okay, that's another thing about this writing, is it's so repetitive. I mean, jeans is mentioned 60 times. Okay, that should tell you enough how repetitive it is. The writing is so not unique. And that's one example of it. He says, I'm going to have you now, every single time they have sex. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. I don't want to see that again. I think a lot of his dialogue is just very cringy. Like he is not hot. He like does not give me the hot vibes. Like I enjoy someone who's a talker, and he would turn me off so fast, okay? And I get it, he's like a dominant and everything, and the whole point, like he says things like, you have to do this to please me. And I don't know, like I would literally laugh in his face, but that's why I'm not in that kind of relationship, I guess. Oh, okay, let's talk about the night she lost her virginity. So she's a virgin, okay, and he's very like distraught by that fact, because he's like, oh my god, am I really gonna take her virginity? Like I don't want to have vanilla sex with her. I'm only into BDSM. What do I do? He decides to have vanilla sex with her so that she doesn't have like a terrible first time experience. Okay, another thing that's really embarrassing is that she says like, you don't make love, because I think he says like, I've never had vanilla sex or something like that, and she's like, you don't make love? What do you do then? And he's like, I fuck hard. Okay, and then when they're finally about to have sex for the first time, remember, she's never had anything inside her. She's never even masturbated. Plug your ears if you don't want to hear this, okay? Pull your knees up, he orders softly, and I'm quick to obey. I'm going to fuck you now, Miss Steele, he murmurs as he positions hard, he whispers, and he slams into me. I can't. She literally cries. She's like, ah, I cry as I feel, and she starts describing what that's like, okay? Piss me off. Like, I get it, man. I get it, bro. You fuck hard, okay? You have no idea how to take a woman's virginity in a nice way. I get it. But at least you should have done some goddamn research, okay? Because he makes her do research. He makes her watch pornography to learn what it's like to be in those kind of relationships. But he can't even learn how to like properly take care of a woman who has never had sex before. stupid and selfish and gross and nasty and bad. This was not sexy at all, and none of the sex is sexy. That is another thing about this book that kind of peeves me, is that the sex is not sexy. Like, I literally was just reading like this, not a thought in my head, not an expression on my face. None of it was sexy. None of it made me giggle. None of it made me excited. Like, nothing like that. It was very boring to read, honestly. Okay, another thing about this writing, it seemed like the author every once in a while was randomly like highlighting a word and then looking it up in the thesaurus to put a different word in its place. Like, she was like, okay, every 15 pages I need to change a word to the most obscure word that no one's ever heard of, so that my writing sounds smart, because I'm using big words that no one uses in regular life. It was so dumb. Like, I did not appreciate it at all, because it didn't flow. It's like juvenile writing, big word I've never heard of in my life that I need a dictionary to look up to find out what the fuck she's even talking about. Like, there was no, like, it's so great in books when you read and there are words that you don't recognize. Like, I love learning new words, and I love learning meanings of words that I've never heard of before, or that maybe I've heard of but I like literally don't actually know what they mean. But it's nice when the writing is consistent, where it's like, I expect this author to be using these big words or these like strong words that have different meanings and like different connotations to the meaning, you know. It's good too when you use different kinds of words to mean the same thing in different instances. Whereas this author, she's using the same word every time. A lot of things really took me back in this book to 2010. Like, she goes for a run and she's listening to Snow Patrol. I was like, okay. Her friend is talking to her and she's like, he seems Trey cool about it. I have not heard Trey as an adjective in forever. Is that the right word, an adjective? I don't know. But I remember that being a thing in 2010, being like, oh, that's Trey fab. Oh, that's Trey chic. Oh, you look Trey hot. That was cute. Like, definitely, it totally took me back. Okay, so let's talk about the inner goddess. Okay, I know you guys have been waiting for me to bring this up. So in the book, she is constantly at war with her mind. She is herself in her mind, but then she has her subconscious and she has her inner goddess. Okay, her subconscious is the one who's like, run away from him, he's a stalker, he's creepy, he doesn't want to have a relationship with you, he doesn't care about your feelings, he only wants to have this sub-dom relationship with you, run away. Her inner goddess, however, this is the feminist take on the book, okay? And I know, okay, it's 2024, feminism is so differently viewed than it was in 2010. However, when I think about these books, I think about the era that they were written in, which was 2010. I think about the middle-aged moms that went to church who would read this book, okay, and like what the inner goddess probably meant for them. And I don't hate it for them, okay? Like, I can see how this personification of feminism could have really sparked women to start speaking up for themselves. Like, really, like, I really do. I can see married women who have never been satisfied in their marriage read this book and be like, you know what, I have an inner goddess too, and she knows what she wants, and go to their husband and be like, I want you to do this. And I don't know, hopefully he would freaking do it, okay? So the inner goddess, I haven't even really explained her yet, but she is the one who is very happy and excited when she gets to do sexual things with Christian Grey, okay? Like, when she has an orgasm, the inner goddess is super satiated and super happy, and she just like lounges around, okay? It's so funny because I imagine it as like Lizzie McGuire, right? Like the little cartoon subconscious that she has in Lizzie McGuire, but I think of her as like a Grecian princess just like lounging around with like olive branches, eating, I don't know, grapes or something. So it's like a funny image. Like I said, she's the one who wants Anastasia to go forward with this relationship with Christian. She's the one like urging her to get what she wants out of the relationship, to like get her orgasms out of the relationship, right? Like, she is very sex positive, sex heavy, inside character of Anastasia's mind, okay? Another thing about the creativity, they say 50 Shades of fucked up so many times in this book. He says it first. I believe he's the one who says it first. He's like, Anastasia, you don't want to be with me. I'm 50 shades of fucked up. And then she uses that like throughout the book. She's like, oh, but remember, he's 50 shades of fucked up. Oh, well, what did I expect? He's 50 shades of fucked up. And I'm just like, girl, like, please be original. Like, with your writing, like, be a little unique. If you're saying the same thing over and over, it's gonna grate me. Something gross, and not for the reason you're probably thinking it is. They have sex when she's on her period at some point, and he takes the tampon out of her and throws it in the toilet, which first of all is like the most unsexy sentence I could ever think of. I can't believe that had to be written out and that I had to say that right now. But he throws it in the toilet. Like, bro, like, it's a woman writing this book. She knows you can't put those things in the toilet. Like, oh my god. Like, maybe the implication there is that, like, I think that they're at the hotel at this point. Maybe the implication is that, like, the hotel he gets is so grand and so expensive and nice that their septic tanks can handle putting large wads of cotton down the drain. But girl, like, no, don't do that. Don't put your tampons down the toilet. Please don't be dumb. I have talked so long about this book. I didn't want to talk this long, but guys, like, there's so much in the book. I feel like I'm not even, like, scratching the surface. What are my thoughts about it right now? I love the ending. I love that she left him. It gives a good cliffhanger, and it gives him something to think about, okay, because I think he needs to think. I like that she kind of dominates him at times. Like, she literally is domineering, and she's like, I don't want to talk to you because you're not giving me the information that I need. Like, this isn't going to work out because you're not compromising with me. Like, she stands her ground. She does become very submissive towards him. Like, that definitely does happen. He gets his way sometimes, but she also gets her way sometimes, and I'm thankful for that, because it could have been really easy for this author just to be like, okay, she's gonna be a virgin, she's gonna have no experience, he's going to go crazy over her, and then we're just going to have like 3 books full of really explicit sex, and those who want to read it are gonna have a fun time with it. Like, that could have been a very easy decision for her. But the fact that the author is giving us this turmoil, and the fact that Anastasia doesn't back down, I don't know, I like it. I kind of like it. And like I said, I'm putting myself in the position, in the shoes of the middle-aged married women with children who are reading these books in 2010, which I do believe is the intended audience. And for that, I love this for them, because I don't know, maybe some of them really needed to hear this book, because he's so dominating, he's so domineering, and he like won't budge on his expectations of her, which I feel like is so relatable to so many women in heterosexual relationships. The man sometimes just like really believes that he is the man and that you have to obey everything he says, and it's like, no, you don't. Like, you are your own person, you can have your own thoughts and feelings about things, and you can express those to him. And then if he is not willing to work with you on that, you don't have to be with him, you can leave him. And that's what she does. I know she's gonna get back with him, and that's fine. Like, we'll see where it goes from there. I do think the writing is terrible. The sex is not hot at all. Like, I can't even enjoy that about the book, which is annoying. The characters, I honestly don't hate them. I kind of like Anastasia. And Christian, he's cringy and I hate his dialogue, but I'm really interested. I'm really interested in learning more about him, because there's so much we haven't learned. There's so much that he has like left open-ended that I'm sure we'll learn in the like later books about his past and everything. So I'd be lying to say I'm not excited for the rest of the books, and I am very excited to watch the movie. I'm just excited to watch the movie. Like, what can I say? I've literally been wanting to watch these movies for a decade now, and I finally get to. So I'm gonna go watch the movie now, catch you guys up later once I have finished that, and give you my thoughts. Okay, I clearly just woke up, so please ignore that. Please excuse that. I had like 30 minutes left in the 50 Shades of Grey movie last night. Hold on. I had to turn off the fan because I'm not talking loud enough to talk over it, okay? So let's wrap this up. I had like 30 minutes left in the 50 Shades of Grey movie last night, and I went to bed. So right when I woke up, I just finished it. Okay, I have so many questions about like the story overall, and I wonder if it's gonna be like concluded or talked about or anything in the second book. That's my main thing, because in the movie it like reopened up all of the questions that I had while I was reading. There's like this big moment where he had followed her to Georgia, and then he's like, I gotta go back, I gotta go back to work, like an emergency has happened, and he's like doing work like when she comes in, and it sounds like it's something like super urgent. And maybe the author was just like writing gibberish because she was like, oh, he works, you know, he's like a businessman, and we need to, you know, make him say business words and, you know, just like conduct his business. And I'm sure that's all it is, but to me it sounded like there was a lot more going on. Oh, okay, huge thing. Okay, Mrs. Robinson, that is the nickname that she has given the old ass divorced woman who had a submissive dom sub relationship with him when he was 15 years old. Okay, disgusting. He says that she was one of his mother's friends, as he so lovingly points out in the book, was a crack whore. So you're telling me that his mother's friend, who knew that her friend's son was literally being like abused and like not taken care of, like his mom was like on drugs all the time, the only men that were around the house at the time were like men who like sold her for more drugs, right? Okay, and you're telling me that she sees this little boy and she's like, you know what, it's time to make a submissive out of you. And then he has the gall to like, you know, always be defending her. Like Anastasia's like, oh, who are you talking to? And he's like, oh, you know her as Mrs. Robinson or whatever. And then she's like, oh yeah, the pedophile. Like she's just like so out front with it. And he's like, no, don't call her that. It's not like that. You don't know her. You don't know her like I did. Not only did she take advantage of a 15-year-old, not only did she enter him into a sub-dom relationship, but it was her friend's son who she, oh my god, like that's like taking advantage times 3. Like you knew the situation that he was in, like you knew how terrible his childhood was, you knew the things that his mom was going through and the normalcies that happened around his household, and you still like, you, oh my gosh, that's like literally disgusting. Like I'm so excited to see how Mrs. Robinson plays into the rest of the books, because I know she's coming. I know she is. Like there's no way they've been talking about her and we've been getting like little glimpses of his past and she's not coming into play. That was my biggest thing. Like I can't believe that I like didn't think about that so much while I was reading the book, and then watching the movie I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so in this movie I'm pissed. I'm real pissed, because you mean to tell me Dakota Johnson came out here, she served ass, she served titties, she served digitally altered pubic hair, okay, because I had to look it up if she like actually got fully nude in this movie. They did wear like the coverings, which is fine, like I'm not, you know, ragging on that. My issue is that she's out here butt-ass naked, okay, throughout half of this movie. By the hour mark she is constantly naked, okay, like never wearing clothes, and we couldn't even get an actor who was willing to show his peen. Like we weren't deserving enough of that. Did the filmmakers like forget who the intended audience was? Like for real, like did they really think, oh yeah, the women will be okay with this? And maybe they were, I don't know. All I'm saying is that if you're gonna have a girl get fully nude in the movie that is an adaptation of the BDSM book that only the mommies read, and you're not even gonna show, oh my god, I'm sick for them. I would be pissed. I'd be pissed if I was in that theater. Oh my god, that would be the whole point of me going, honestly. It's just those double standards, man. I don't like them. I do not like them. Now that I'm all riled up, I think I'm gonna go read the second book. I started it last night. I actually like, I'm like 13% of the way through, so like I just read it till I fell asleep. So I think I'm gonna go read that now, like for an hour straight, just see how far I can get into it, and then I'll be back. Okay, this is so random, but I was just thinking about what I thought about how Mrs. Robinson was the mother's friend. I think when he says that, he's talking about his adoptive mother, who is played by Marcia Gay Harden in the movie. And that must be who he's talking about, because like he was 15 when she and him entered into that relationship. and he was adopted when he was 4. So I think like he's not talking about his birth mother's best friend took like, you know, had that relationship with him. I think he's talking about his adoptive mother. So I just wanted to, I don't know, fix that real fast because I think I just figured that out, that that's what they're talking about there. Okay. Hi, I just wanted to come on here and let you guys know that I just fell asleep during a sex scene in this book. That's how great these scenes are in this book. That's how good the spice is. I totally understand why everyone loves and read these books like crazy back in the day. It's just like so intriguing and so spicy, and I like just totally fell asleep in the middle of a sex scene. I just woke up. I'm 41% of the way through. Okay, the second book is called 50 Shades Darker. I figured that out. Good for me. Oh my god. You guys, if I were just like a normal person reading this in 2011 and not reading it for a challenge, I would have stopped reading these books because I'm so bored. I'm so bored. Just quick recap. They get back together. Okay, basically in this book, he is like deciding to try to be what she wants. Okay, he is compromising. He is learning. I hate this angle. That's a little better. He is learning like what she wants and how to have like a real relationship and be in love for real and not just have like a contractual agreement where, you know, he can like have sex with you whenever he wants and you get pleasure out of it because you know that the stranger is being pleasured. Okay, he's doing like the relationship thing now for her. He's compromising because he can't lose her. He loves her so much, and fair, like it's fine. But I'm so bored. The thing is, the only thing that's keeping me going is Mrs. Robinson. I want to know what the heck her justification is because she has been seen. Okay, we have seen her twice in this book so far, and she even gave a letter to Anastasia because Anastasia called her out. She's like, what makes you think I would want to talk to a molester like you? Get out of my face. And then she sends her a note and she's like, you don't know the whole story, here's my number if you ever want to talk. No, we know the whole story. Okay, we are very aware of the whole story. He was 15 and that's all we need to know. So I'm personally excited just to know what her reasoning is. I want to know what's going to come out of her mouth. I want to know where that's going to go. There also is another sub. I think her name was like Layla, and she has been stalking Anastasia. She like came up to Anastasia, was like, oh, what do you have that I don't have? And then she broke into Christian's house and was waiting by Anastasia's bed, and so they've like skipped town. They're like on a boat right now, and that's where I fell asleep. I fell asleep during the sex scene that they're having on the boat. It's just like so boring. Like the description is so boring, and I feel like I said this earlier, but because it's like a BDSM relationship, granted in this book he is trying to be more vanilla for her. He's like, oh, I won't, you know, do BDSM to you because it's not what you want, but she still wants it. I don't know, it's like confusing, the dichotomy between them two. Anyway, given the fact that it is like supposed to be a BDSM relationship, I was hoping for a lot of spice. I was hoping for like some knowledge. Okay, definitely I was like, oh, let's learn a little bit about what that entails. I would enjoy reading that. Nothing. And that's fine because I feel like the point is that he is deviating away from that because he wants to be more for her and she's like not about it anymore. She doesn't want to do those things anymore except like light play, I guess, like little things here and there. Oh my god, I'm literally so bored. It's really fast. Like I read 40% all day today, and I read for like 2 hours. Like I feel like I've barely read today, so I feel like it's going to definitely go by really quickly. I want to finish it. I want to see what the heck Mrs. Robinson has to say. I want to see how the situation with Layla gets resolved. Is she gonna like come up to Anastasia again, or is she gonna like actually do something drastic, like actual like violence against them? I don't know. I hope something really surprising happens. I don't have much else to say. I just wanted to update you guys and let you know that, you know, it's really riveting. I'm riveted. Hi, bedtime. Emma coming to you. I just finished my everything shower and skincare. I'm ready to go to bed, but I wanted to update you guys because I finished 50 Shades Darker. I'm just gonna give a quick like 5-sentence, I mean, knowing me, it's probably gonna be like 25 sentences little synopsis, and then I'm going to get into my notes because we have a lot of notes to talk about. Okay, so Anna starts her job. Remember where we left off last time? They broke up. Okay, they're broken up. She starts her job in Seattle. It's like a publishing company. She wanted to work in publishing. Okay, she works as an assistant to this man named Jack, and it's like an independent publishing company. Christian has not left her alone. They've been apart for like 3 days, and they're both like hurting really badly. And he reminds her that she had asked him to go to her friend Jose's art gallery. This was something that she asked him to accompany her to in the first book. And she's like, yes, you know, if you'd still want to be my date, we could go together, it's fine. And so they go to the art exhibit, and in there is a surprise. Apparently Jose had taken some pictures of Anna when they were like friends, because they were friends in college. And if you don't remember Jose, I don't know if I talked about him, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. He is her college friend who like made a pass at her, and Christian showed up vroom vroom Charlie XCX style to, you know, push him off of her and take her home, right? Like it was like, he doesn't like Jose, okay? But he wants to see Anna again, so he asks, you know, are we still gonna go to that art exhibit? They go, and Jose had taken some pictures of Anna, and this is part of the exhibit from when they were in college. She didn't know about it, but she's okay with it. And in the photos, she looks really happy, really peaceful, really joyful. And this like kind of sets Christian back. He's like, wait, I've never seen her look like this. She's always looked really stressed, really aggravated, irritated anytime she's been with me. And I love this girl, even though I've known her for like 3 weeks at this point. Let's not forget that. But I've always been the problem. Like he realizes that he is causing a negative aura around her, and like he is causing her to just feel bad because he's never seen her how she is in these photos when she's like having fun with her friends and she's relaxed and happy. So he buys all the photos, obviously, and he tells Anna that he wants to get back together. He's like, I see now that I'm the problem, that I'm the mistake. Let's throw away the contract. We'll do it on your terms. I'll be your boyfriend. Like we'll actually be a couple. It won't be this like contractual sub-dominant relationship. Like, let me please try to be your boyfriend. And so it's new to both of them because remember, she is very innocent. She's never had a boyfriend or kissed a boy basically or anything, and he's never had a girlfriend. He's only ever been seduced by an older woman where he was the sub in that relationship, and then he went on to become a dominant, and like those are the only relationships with women he's ever had. And we will get to a lot about the way he feels about women in a second. Basically, Christian finds out where Anna has been employed, okay, the publishing company, and he buys it. Yeah, he like can't even let her have a job without him interfering. That's definitely a choice for her to stay with him after that. But he says that he does it because he doesn't trust her employer, Jack, because Jack like goes through assistants. He's like known for trying to date his assistants and like, I don't know, screwing them over, screwing them. It doesn't matter. He doesn't like him. And Jack has made some passes at Anna, and he's just like, he's not a fan of it, okay? One day, Jack actually does like come on to Anna, like they're alone. He makes her stay late and they're alone, and he comes on to her, and he's just like being really creepy. And he's been creepy like the whole book, but he comes on to her and she like, you know, punches him, or no, she kicks him in the groin, and then I don't know what else she does. I don't know if she hits him twice, and I don't remember where the second hit is, but I know she does knee him in the groin, and he's like, you know, you bitch and everything, and she runs away. She tells Christian what happened, and Christian's henchmen beat him up and they get him fired, okay? And he comes into play later, so don't forget about Jack. We are reintroduced to Elena, who is Mrs. Robinson, the old woman who seduced Christian when he was 15 years old and entered him into that relationship. She does not like Elena. She calls her a molester to her face. Elena keeps trying to like talk to her, like send her a note, like, oh, you don't really know what it was like if we could talk, maybe we could just come to a better understanding and everything. Elena also doesn't like respect their relationship. She thinks that it's just gonna fizzle out because Anna isn't giving Christian what he wants, which is a submissive. So she's like, oh, it's gonna be over soon. She doesn't respect it, but she's also like trying to talk to Anna here and there, right? Him and Elena, Christian, and Mrs. Robinson are still friends. They're like business partners. So like she comes up a lot, like whether she's calling him or she picks up the phone and it's Elena on the other end, like she's just like constantly in the book, okay? Okay, we go back and forth in this book all the time because Christian has decided to be in this regular relationship with Anna. He's decided he doesn't want the sub-dom relationship, he wants a real relationship. And there's constant battle of, am I enough for him? Am I enough for her? Like, they are constantly not believing that the other is good enough for the other person, and it gets really exhausting. One way that is tested is that one of Christian's submissives, her name is Layla, she comes into the picture. She's stalking Anna at work. She shows up at Elena's house. She shows up at Christian's house. She breaks into Christian's house. She has a gun, and at one point Elena enters the house alone, which she's never allowed to do. She's not allowed to go to work by herself. She's not allowed to step outside of work by herself. She's not allowed to do anything by herself because Christian has people watching her to make sure that Layla doesn't come after her, because they know that she just recently got a gun. Okay, so Anna is alone, and Layla has a gun pointed at her in the house, and Christian comes in and he diffuses the situation by reenacting their sub-dom relationship. Like, she's standing there with the gun and he comes to her and he's like all menacing and dominant, and he says like some word to her, like he whispers a word to her, we don't hear it, and she immediately gets into the submissive pose that he has told Anna about, that they reenacted in the first book, which is like she's on her knees looking down and like her hands are on her legs, and that's like the submissive pose. So she gets down like that, and then he tells Anna to leave the room, and Anna is very scared. She's like, oh my gosh, like he is in dominant mode, one of his past submissives is here, and they're like literally role playing right now, like they're acting as the parts that they should be, and I'm alone in this and he's asking me to leave. I don't feel comfortable. I am not enough for him. He will never not want a sub-dom relationship. Like, I'm not enough for him. That is just the constant conflict in this book, is they both feel like they're not enough. Anna tells this to Christian after they take Layla away to like a psychiatric hospital, okay, and she's being like evaluated and taken care of there. And so Anna is talking to Christian, you know, I'll never be enough, blah blah blah, and Christian's afraid that she's gonna leave again. This is like Christian's biggest fear is I keep getting the names mixed up, is Anna leaving again, because she left at the end of the first book, right? So like they haven't even gone back into the red room of pain / pleasure. They haven't even gone back there because he can't handle it, because that's where she left him. He is just terrified of her leaving again, and it's just like he will do anything and say anything. Like that's how their fights always end, okay? And in this case, to like diffuse the situation between one of his submissives trying to kill her and her feeling so uncomfortable and thinking that their relationship isn't gonna last because she's not what he wants, he proposes to her, and she's like, we've known each other for 4 weeks at this point now, give me a second, like let me think about it. And he keeps persisting, like he is very persistent on asking her, please will you marry me, are you gonna marry me, what's your answer? It's like, bro, like you have known each other for 30 days, like let's be a little realistic here. I know you don't want to lose her, but she's not going anywhere right now. You're doing fine, like you are keeping her just fine right now. You're doing a good boyfriend thing. Just chill. There is a terribly stupid point, like plot point, I don't know, like part in the book where Christian is in his plane, because he's got like multiple planes and helicopters and he's like always playing with them, okay, whatever. He goes in his plane and something happens where like the engines are messed up, like the engines start to burn out, and he had to like crash land it and everything, but his phone was dead. He's been like he had a long day, right? Anna is not able to get a hold of him, and neither is like his security detail. His family members try to get a hold of him. Like everyone is in a panic, so they're all at Christian's house, like trying to find him, like figuring out what they should do, like trying different ways to contact him and everything. And then he shows up and he's all fine. He's like dirty and disheveled, but he's alive. And he was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. My plane just started crashing, but I'm okay. Like I crash landed and it's fine. Anna is like, I hate that I keep calling her Anna, and I hate that everyone does call her Anna, because her name is Anastasia and I love the name Anastasia. I want to call her Anastasia. Okay, hopefully I can keep that up. Anastasia, because he fought with death, he had a near fight with death right there, she's like, oh my gosh, I can't lose him, like how could I not accept his marriage proposal now? So she like sets up this whole cute thing to like say yes on his birthday and all that, and that's what ends up happening. Okay, she accepts the marriage proposal. The next day or like a day later or whatever, it's Christian's birthday, and like all of his friends, all of his family are at the house. I think that they're at his mom's house, and he tells them that he has proposed to Anastasia and she has accepted the proposal. Elena / Mrs. Robinson is there, because remember they're still friends. friends, and she corners Anastasia and she's like, you will never be enough for him, like you don't know what he needs. She also accuses her of being a gold digger, which is crazy. Christian, you know, interrupts and he's like, Lena, you taught me how to take control over my own life, because remember, he had a really bad childhood, but you never loved me the way that Anastasia did, and like that's why I'm marrying her and that's why I'm sacrificing all of this for her, okay? And Elena is like really upset. Grace, who's his mother, finds out that her friend Mrs. Robinson / Elena had seduced him at 15 and had this inappropriate relationship, because remember, they were friends. The mother, it was his mom's friend who seduced him, and so she finds out, she slaps her and is like, you're not ever allowed in my house ever again. Appropriate response. Personally, I would have done more, but that's okay. Christian decides to end his business and friendship relationship with Elena, so that's good for Anastasia. In the very end of the book, it's like a little 3-paragraph epilogue where Jack, the disgruntled employee who was Anastasia's former boss, is like smoking a cigarette and like watching from outside the house. He reveals that he was the one who messed with the helicopter that Christian almost died in. He's just like getting revenge, right? Because Christian like ruined his life. He made him lose his job. His henchmen beat him up really bad. And he just like, he's swearing revenge, okay? Let's get into the notes. I have a lot of notes about specific things that really bothered me, and just like how this is kind of really a bad book, you guys. Spoiler alert, I already gave it 1 star. Okay, first annoying thing, let's go. Something that Anastasia starts doing in this book is she starts calling Christian 50. Okay, because remember in the first book he calls himself 50 Shades of Fucked Up, and they say that so many times in the first book. So she literally just starts calling him 50, and I'm gonna count right now how many times she calls him 50 in this book. Let's see. 98 times. 98 times she refers to him as 50. It's like, I stalk off toward him and away from 50. I don't blame him. I frown at 50. She is wholeheartedly in agreement with 50 Shades. Like, she refers to him as 50 like it's one of his names. Okay, 50 is one of his names in this book. I hated it. The writing is so bad. I'm just gonna be talking about random times when the writing just like literally is so stupid. Like, I don't know what she was thinking. E.L. James still does this thing where definitely a normal written sentence has been written out, and then she will just take a word and look it up in the thesaurus and pick like the most craziest, longest word that no one has ever used ever. And I don't know. I don't mean that to sound like I'm not educated and that I don't know words, okay? But it's just like, no one is actually using this language. And I don't think that the writing and the way that this book is written and also perceived warrants the use of the thesaurus as much as she did. Like, when Leigh Bardugo writes a book and it's got a word I've never heard before, it fits, it works. You know, I am expecting to open up a dictionary when I read a Leigh Bardugo book. When I'm reading Twilight fan fiction, Twilight porn fan fiction, I'm not expecting to open up the dictionary. I guess, like, thank you for making me open up the dictionary, but also your characters are unrealistic and they wouldn't normally talk like this, okay? And I can tell. Some instances of stupid writing. It says, he's wearing his jeans and his shirt and his just fucked hair, and that's all. What else would he be wearing? He's wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He's got his hair on. Okay, let's just like take that out of it. He's wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and that's all. That's all he's got on, baby. He doesn't even have socks on. What else would he be wearing? There were grammar mistakes. There were spelling mistakes. I highlighted like 3 or 4 of them. I'm not even gonna go into them because it's just like, okay, I'll go into one. It says, did your mother teach you? She cooked him a meal and she's talking about how she did all the cooking back in college, and he says, did your mother teach you? Like, just like, nobody read this book, nobody edited this book, it was just published. At one point she says, this man, God's gift to women, loves me. And I said, are the women in the room with us? I don't know of anybody who wants a very angry, violent man who like literally won't let me leave the house, who won't let me like go to work like a normal person. I don't know, like, I get that he's hot and I get that he's working on himself for you. Like, I really love that for you, I do. I'm glad that you're not changing for him. I'm glad that he's like actually working through his issues to be able to have a relationship with someone that he loves. But I wouldn't say he's God's gift to women. Oh, I fell asleep during a sex scene, and then I fell asleep at the end when there was a very important sex scene. I have to talk about the sex scenes because they're terrible. They're so bad because I'm like, okay, this book isn't good. I don't like the plot. I don't like the characters. I like Anastasia. I won't lie and say that I don't like her. I think that she's very fine. I don't think that she has a lot of good motivation. Like, she just kind of like lives day to day, and that's fine, I guess. But all the other characters I have no care in the world for. I definitely don't like Christian. The plot, like I said, is not plotting, so maybe at least we could have some nice sex scenes, but no. It's so boring. It's so boring. And I get it because they're trying to have this vanilla relationship and they're making love and having just like beautiful sex where, you know, she comes just from him tweaking her nipples. But I don't know. It's not what I signed up for. Like I said, I literally fell asleep during 2 sex scenes, and one of them was the quintessential pivotal anal first timer scene. Like, even that wasn't great enough to keep my eyes open for. Okay, another instance of just like no one edited this, nobody reviewed this, like it was just written and then not ever thought about. She's talking to Christian and he's talking about how he has like people who help him with things, like, oh, he helped me build this roof, oh, he helped me do this, but he doesn't have any friends. So he goes, Mac, he works for me, helped build the Grace, which is his boat. She says, do you have many friends? And then we like finish the conversation. He's like, I don't really cultivate friendships. The only friend I have is Mrs. Robinson. And then the very next page, they're at like lunch, like a nice lunch, and she goes, can I ask you something? Anything, Anastasia, you know that. He cocks his head to one side, looking delicious. You don't seem to have many friends. Why is that? We just talked about it. Like, we just had that conversation 2 paragraphs ago. The page before, you've already asked that question. He reveals to her that he makes $100,000 an hour. You know what? I feel like that's wrong. Let me fact check that. There's no way. Oh my gosh, no, it's literally the Anastasia. I earn roughly $100,000 an hour. So he's the top 1%, right? We're dealing with the top 1% here. Yeah, he keeps telling her he doesn't want her to go to work, and girl, I don't know, if my boyfriend made $100,000 an hour, yeah, I would probably justify not working either. I would definitely pick up my passion projects. I would not sign into a 9-to-5 every day. He keeps saying, I'm going to take you now, every time they have sex, which needs to go. Okay, worst businessman ever, because she asks him about his property. She's like, how many properties do you have? Because Jack, her old employer, was trying to take her to New York, and he was like, if you want to go to New York, we'll just go to my apartment in New York. She asks him how many properties he has. He smirks, and it turns out he only has the apartment in New York and Aspen and Escala. He has only 3 apartments and he's in the top 1%, like 3 properties, I mean. Worst businessman ever. Even I know to invest in property. Like, I'm not doing it because I have no money to do it, but like if I had money, I would not be stupid with it like that. What are you, like, I guess that he invests a lot in business, but why aren't you investing in property, girl? Like, I hate when she talks about the gray pants. Apparently he has a pair of gray pants that she really loves, and this is the exact sentence that is written every time he's wearing those pants. It says, he's taken off his jacket and he's wearing his gray pants. My favorite ones that hang from his hips in that way. Every time that's how that sentence is written. What is she talking about? My favorite ones that hang off his hips in that way. Don't all pant, like, I'm trying to, like, I'm literally thinking of like a very well sculpted man, and like I know what she's talking about, but you could, like, if you're going to pull out the thesaurus for every other sentence, you could learn how to structure sentences differently as well. Reveal of the century. Literally my note was, oh, because I can't believe this. We need to get into this. Okay, so he has a big secret. He's been alluding to his biggest secret. You know, he talks about how he goes to see a shrink and how they talk about this in therapy all the time. He has this big secret and he's so terrified of telling her because he's afraid that she's gonna run away again. She's like, you know, please tell me your big secret and everything. He finally gives in. He says, he takes a deep breath and swallows. I'm a sadist, Anna. I like to whip little brown-haired girls like you because you all look like the crack whore, my birth mother. I'm sure you can guess why. He says it in a rush, as if he's had the sentence in his head for days and days and is desperate to be rid of it. So I don't know if I mentioned in the first book that that's how he refers to his birth mom, that crack whore. Okay, that's how they both refer to his mother, actually. She calls her that as well, to Christian's face and in her head, okay? Which, I don't know. I don't talk about people who have drug issues like that. That's not very, anyway. And I get that Christian has the trauma. Like, he has the trauma because his mom was addicted to crack and she had a boyfriend who would sell her for crack, okay? And so, and that boyfriend would also be the one who would hurt and like physically abuse Christian, right? I don't know why I put quotations. He does physically abuse Christian, okay? And that's why Christian is so messed up. Like, all his trauma stems back to his mother, right? So he goes out of his way to find women who look like his mom and then enter them into this sub-dom contract so that he can hit them? Like, jail! I get that I'm so glad he's seen a therapist. He needs to be like actually surveillance, like put into a 24-hour hold. I don't know, a month-long hold. He's a danger. That's literally dangerous to literally just be like, I'm gonna find people who look like the person that has hurt me the most and I'm going to torture them. I'm going to hit them. And I get that the girls, like, they do enter into this contract consensually, like they want to be a submissive, and that's fine. I literally have no problem with that. It's just the way he words it too. He picked Anastasia because she looked like his mom and he was like, oh, yep, next one, can't wait to get you in my red room. I'm just sick. Like, I'm just sick for all of these girls. I'm sick for him. That's pretty messed up. That's pretty, you should stay away from women until you feel a little bit better. He proposes to her at 5 weeks when they have been together for 5 weeks. I kind of hated that. Anastasia has a lot of really freaking dumb moments. She's supposed to be this smart, she's so intelligent, she gets her own job, she's like a girl boss, right? Even though her boyfriend makes $100,000 an hour, she doesn't care, she wants a job. But she doesn't understand that she can't try to sext her boyfriend from her work computer, from her work email. Like, she doesn't understand why that's a bad thing. He has to tell her constantly, both before he owns the company and after he buys out the company, to further protect her, that she can't be writing these emails to him, because they correspond a lot through email throughout the book. They did that in the first one, but it was just her personal email through her BlackBerry that he got her, and they would just, you know, flirt back and forth. I don't know, that was like a way for them to open up about their feelings to each other, because they were so heated whenever they would see each other. They would fight all the time, and then they would have sex. Like, it was just like they got no communication done. So the emails are used as a point of contact between them two, and so that they can like further their relationship a little bit. Anyway, in the second book, she starts emailing him from her work computer, and it's naughty. Like, she is sending him things that should not be sent from a work computer, especially from your personal work email, where your literal signature is, you know, Anastasia Steele, assistant to Jack, owner of publishing company. Like, that's her signature, and she's writing these emails. Like, girl, so many times Christian has to DDDDD into the system and wipe all of her emails to him and the emails that, yeah, it's just so irresponsible, so stupid. I don't know why she thought that would ever be okay. I don't even Google on my work computer. That's my work computer. If I need to Google something, I'm Googling it on my own computer. Like, much less sending personal emails. I would never send a personal email through my work computer. I'm not that stupid. And Miss 4.0 over here, it really is that stupid. Literally, this writing drives me up the wall. So Jack is trying to constantly get Anastasia in trouble once he finds out that she's dating Christian Grey, because he like shows up to work one day and, you know, swings his dick around. And since then, Jack is just like being so much more meaner to Anastasia, and he's just like griping at her for little things and yelling at her to get the coffee for him. Like, he's just being, you know, mean now that he knows that she's unavailable. And he's like, I decided to go through your emails to see if I could find any clues. You know what I found? You know what I found? I found all these emails to your hotshot boyfriend. I got to thinking, you know, where are the emails from him and all this stuff? So he's like going off about how Christian has like wiped the server with some of the emails, and he's like, do you have a spy? Like, what's going on? And all this stuff. And she didn't know that he had wiped them at this point. So she goes, holy shit, the emails. Oh no, what have I said? What have you said? You are talking about the couplings that you have been having with your boyfriend through your work computer. You have been teasing your boyfriend through your work computer, through your work email, and you you want to know what you've said. You don't understand what you could have said. That would have been so bad. Not only that, but Christian tells her multiple times. He literally emails her so many times, stop emailing me on your work computer. Stop emailing me from your work email. Okay, he keeps telling her, talk to me through the BlackBerry. Email me through your BlackBerry. And she has the gall to be like, what have I said? You're stupid. You're Miss 4.0 my ass. My favorite quote from this book is when she goes into the red room of pain/pleasure, and he hasn't been in there since they had the fight. She hasn't been in there since they had the fight. She's just like being curious. I think that he was like working, and she was just like, oh, I'm like, I want to see what's in there. Like, I'm just curious, you know? And then he finds her in there, and she is looking at like all of his toys and everything and all of his equipment in the room. She gets embarrassed when he finds her looking at the drawer of all the toys that are for the buttocks. And he's like embarrassing her a little bit because she doesn't know what the items are. And it goes, I close it quickly, flushing like a stoplight. He says, don't you like the butt drawer? Not the butt drawer. I don't know what else you would call it, but like just the way that he is, he's so unsexy to me that this just, I'd be laughing all the way home. Every chapter, one of them is constantly like, I don't want to lose you. I don't want to let you go. You know, it'll be like chapter 12, Anastasia's like, I'm not the one you want. I'm not submissive enough for you. And then he's like, no, you're perfect. I don't want you to leave. And then chapter 13, at the end of it, he's like, I'm so scared of losing you. You're going to leave me again. And she's like, no, I would never leave you. And then chapter 14, we're back to Anastasia, and she's like, oh my gosh, like he has this stalker ex-girlfriend, and she was a submissive, and I could never be like her. He's gonna leave me. And he's like, no, I would never leave. Like literally that's this whole book. Every single chapter, the repetition was insanely annoying. I just want to say this too, because it's not like we're going through passages of time and then they're having these conversations. It's literally every day, because they've only been together for 5 weeks, and we are getting a day-by-day, play-by-play. The only time skip that we've had is from the first book to the second book. There were 3 days skip, so they were not together for 3 days, and that's the only time skip we've had. So it's literally every day they're having the same conversation over and over and over. And I personally think that they both need to go to couples therapy. At one point, he takes her to a really nice house that has a gorgeous view. And this is after he's proposed, and he's kind of like, you know, if you marry me, I would love to get this house. If you like it, we could tear it down. We could redecorate it. We could remodel it. Like, I want this to be our house, right? She's like, oh my gosh, really? And he's explaining all this stuff to her, you know, like there's a huge fireplace. There's like, he's just kind of like giving her the lay of the land. Like, they're on like the first floor. They're like on a balcony looking out and stuff, and he's like, you know, do you like it? Do you want it? She goes, can we look around the house? Because they haven't looked around the house yet. He blinks at me. Sure, he shrugs, puzzled. Why are you puzzled that your soon-to-be fiance would want to look at the house that you're about to buy for her? Why? Like, these characters are stupid. This writing is stupid. There was one hot scene in the elevator where he had kind of been teasing her all night through dinner, and not the way that you think. He actually was kind of unique about it, in my opinion. And then they're in the elevator with a bunch of people, and he's like, now he's like physically teasing her, and kind of did it for me, not gonna lie. Okay, another thing I hated about this, I'm gonna keep talking about the sex in this book, because constantly they are like making out in an area, like on the stairs, leaving a lobby, in a car, and she's like, please, can we do it now? And he's like, no, I want to have you in my bed because I love you and I want to make love to you. He denies her sex in so many areas. Like I said, they're talking about going to a restroom to do the deed. They're talking about doing it in the car. They're making out on the staircase, and she wants him right there. And he denies it for her. Like, that would be so hot. That would be such a good, I don't know, like different part of the book. Like, spice it up, okay? Because literally there's no more like BDSM sex, right? It's all vanilla sex because he wants to love her and learn how to love her, which is fine. I don't hate that for them. But like, we could have spiced it up just a little bit by changing the location instead of making love in bed every single night. One really good line, mostly just because it reminded me of a really good line from Mad Men, but Elena, Mrs. Robinson, is accosting Anastasia. She's like, you'll never be good enough for him. She goes, I wouldn't have thought of you as a worthy adversary, Anastasia, but you surprised me at every turn. Anastasia goes, I haven't thought of you at all. I lie coolly.
No bad feeling.
I don't think about you at all.
I love that scene in Mad Men. Like, it is a mantra for me personally, and I thought that that was like pretty cool. And that was actually, my last note. That was my last note. So yeah, girl, I'm excited to be done with these books because they are not well written. I am not enjoying this author's language. I hate Christian. He's just like getting on my nerves. I like that he's trying to change though. I think it's like cool. Like, we didn't have to go that route. We could have just had like 3 BDSM books in a row and like been fine with it. So to change it up like this, it gives it like more heart, and I can see why it has the fan base that it did, because I don't know, like, it gives the people something to root for instead of just like a good book but 3 times over. It's like, oh, like, things are changing. You know, we have a new villain with Jack entering at the end. He tried to kill Christian. He's probably going to try to stop the wedding. I don't know. That's obviously what's going to happen in the 3rd book, is the wedding. I'm excited to watch the movie, and in fact, I'm going to go watch it right now before I go to bed, and I will update you guys probably in the morning once I have finished it. So I will see you guys with my next update in just a second. Hi, another update, late night update. Okay, I'm about to go do my skincare and get into bed, but I just finished. I already clicked out of it. I don't remember what this movie is called. It's the second 50 Shades movie. What is that? Is it 50 Shades Darker? I think it is. I think it's 50 Shades Darker. Okay, 50 Shades Darker. Yes, that is the second book and second movie in the 50 Shades of Grey series. I don't have a lot of notes. Basically, it's cut and dry. It's the same as the book. I didn't expect them to deviate. I was waiting to see if they would, and they didn't, and that's fine because the book, it is what you get. Okay, I will say I hated it. I think that the second book and the second movie is my least favorite in the series. I mean, I literally just started the 3rd book, so like, we will see, but I definitely disliked the second one, 50 Shades Darker, more than I disliked 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, literally I have 6 notes here. One thing, I was interested to see how they would address the fact that his mother was a crack addict who would sell herself for drugs, because the way that they talk about it in the book, they literally just constantly call her the crack whore. Okay, it's very derogatory. It's not very sensitive to addicts, so I don't know. I was very interested to see how they would do that in the movie, and this is how they address it. Pancake, just wait. Just wait. When Christian finally tells Anastasia about his mom in the movie, he says she was an addict, crack. So that's much nicer. That's all you need to say. You need to say that she was an addict, and then Anastasia can like understand a little bit more about you instead of just constantly referring to your mother as the crack whore. He looks insane in his mask. Okay, I didn't talk about this in the book wrap up, but they go to a masquerade ball and where the women get bid on, and Christian Grey bids like $100,000 on her, which is what he makes in an hour. So he honestly should have done $1 million just to like be extra impressive. That would have impressed me. But $100,000 after I know that you make that in an hour, like, okay, it's kind of pathetic for a top 1%er, but whatever. Yeah, so in the movie, of course, they go to the masquerade ball, and he literally looks insane. Like, sorry, Jamie Dorian, sometimes you really freak me out, and you have bug eyes, so sometimes it doesn't really hit for me. The flow of this movie is garbage. Like, I mean, it feels like the book, I guess, so I can't really blame the movie for that because it's just, like I said, cut and paste from the book. But yeah, the flow was garbage. I hated that about the movie. I do have to say, like, I can't deny this, but the sex in the movies is honestly the most rewarding part of this whole challenge that I've been doing, because in the book, it's just so oversaturated. It's not, like, literally half of the scenes end in the middle of the sex scene, and then like they wake up the next morning. And I don't know, like, maybe instead invest in some really good scenes, like 5 really good scenes, instead of every single night they go to bed having sex and then we stop in the middle of the sex scene and they wake up the next morning just to do the same day all over again. So in the movies, of course, they can't do that every time. So every time there is a sex scene, it's a little rewarding, I won't lie. The final note I have about this movie, okay, and honestly, this is what saves the movie for me, because the whole time I'm like, this is a half-star movie. I gave the first movie 1.5 stars because it's a 1-star movie for sure, but Dakota Johnson, like, I love her acting, and the way that she plays Anastasia is honestly really funny. I think she does a very good job of it, so that bumps it up to like an extra half-star for me. So the first movie got 1.5 star, and this whole movie was so bad for the second one. It was so bad. So I was like, the whole time, this is a half-star movie. Like, there's no way I can justify giving it any more than a half star because it's literally just, the flow is garbage, the plot lines are garbage. I just really hated every bit of it. It's also like super fast moving. Like, they literally move through this relationship incredibly fast. However, this movie has something very special. It has a Taylor Swift soundtrack feature in it, which is really rare. She does not do a lot of soundtracks, okay? The pop girlies, a lot of them live off of their soundtrack royalties, okay? Which, fair for them. Like, if they make a bop, they make a bop. But Taylor Swift, she is very selective about the soundtracks that she works for. And granted, this, when she made this one, she was under a different record label and like a different time in her life. However, I Don't Want to Live Forever by Zayn featuring Taylor Swift, or is it just by Zayn and Taylor Swift? I don't think she's mentioned as a feature. I think it's just and Taylor Swift. I don't know that for sure. I'm just making that up maybe. Regardless, the thing is that they both have a verse and they both sing the chorus, so it doesn't feel like a feature, but maybe it is a Zayn song. I don't know. All I know is that I really, 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 really hope that she can re-record it for Reputation Taylor's version as one of the vault songs. That would be very, very nice for me personally. I can't imagine how good that song would sound re-recorded. Oh my god. Anyway, the soundtrack for this movie bumps a little hard. I think it bumps harder than the first movie. But yeah, the fact that Taylor Swift is on the soundtrack and it's the song I Don't Want to Live Forever, which is one of her best, seriously one of her best songs. I love that song so much. That definitely bumps it up a whole half star. I can't justify giving it a whole star for just the Taylor Swift song. Like, trust me, I want to. Trust me, I want to give it 5 stars just for the Taylor Swift song alone. But I'm not going to be stupid and I'm not going to be annoying. And I'm going to give it that extra half star because sometimes a little extra bit in a movie can like bump it up an extra half star. Just like the way that Dakota Johnson bumped up the first movie a half a star. So for 50 Shades Darker, it is getting a 1 star. Same as the book. The book also got 1 star, so good job. Okay, I've started the 3rd book. It's called 50 Shades Freed, and I am 12% of the way through it. I have like 6 hours and 45 minutes left to go in it. I would love to lay down before bed and read maybe like an hour of it before I fall asleep. We'll see, and then I'll be finishing it tomorrow. Okay, that's all I have for you now. I will update you guys once I have something else to say. I'm gonna get ready for bed and to put my little cat to bed because she's meowing right outside, so I'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, oh my god, this is the end, guys. We made it. You made it. Okay, I made it. We have made it to the end of the 50 Shades of Grey series. I finished the book yesterday, I finished the movie yesterday, and now we can talk about it and be done with it and move on with our lives from this incredibly, terribly written BDSM Twilight fanfiction series. Okay, so starting from the beginning of the book, this one is called 50 Shades Freed. Okay, it's the final in the trilogy. It opens up with some good writing techniques, actually, surprisingly, okay? We know that they are now on their honeymoon, and while they're on their honeymoon, you know, she'll be like bathing in the sun and like daydreaming about their wedding, and then that's how we find out things about their wedding, okay? It's nothing crazy. It's just like she knew that it would be boring to write a whole normal ass wedding scene where nothing crazy happens and then move on to the honeymoon. She decided to move the timeline a little bit like that, okay? So like we're jumping back and forth from the honeymoon to the wedding about things that happened before the wedding. Just like, you know, it's a different pace, okay? And I actually enjoyed that a lot. Immediately, Christian basically hasn't learned anything. He's still extremely controlling. I don't know. He gets angry at the littlest things, like actually angry. Like the expression is anger, okay? It's not just like, oh, he's frustrated or he's like trying to hold back. It's just like, oh no, he's angry all over again. One of those times where in the very beginning where this happens is he tries to email her, but the email bounces because he tried to email her as Anastasia Gray, but her name is still Anastasia Steele at her job. And so he, you know, is very angry and everything. And she's like, look, I just want to keep you separate from my work life, even though you own the company. And he surprises her by telling her that he has changed the name of the company. It's now going to be Gray Publishing, and she's the owner of it. So it's like his wedding gift to her. And so because of that, she decides to change her work name to Anastasia Gray. What happens next? Christian goes on a business trip to New York, and while he's gone, he has like upped the security up the wazoo, okay? Because remember in the last book, he almost died in a helicopter crash from someone messing with the helicopter. There's just been like a lot of security breaches, like a lot of things happening within the security, and they know that like kind of someone's after them. They don't know who it is yet. We found out at the end of the second book it is Jack Hyde, the man who made it past at Anastasia, and Christian got him fired and she now has his job, right? So he's on a business trip to New York, Christian is. She decides to go out for a drink with her friend Kate, and you know, her security personnel are all like, ma'am, we can't do this, and she's like, too bad, I'm going to. You know, they call Christian immediately and he's all angry, but she's like ignoring his text and everything. She's like, I'll text him later, like it's just a drink. They end up going out for like a couple of drinks, but when she gets back to the apartment, it's been broken into, okay? And they find out that Jack is there. He's like knocked out cold because the security like went in first. He had like duct tape and like handcuffs and just like all of this stuff. He had planned on kidnapping Anastasia, but because she decided to go have a drink with her friends, she was not at home to be kidnapped. So she kind of like saved herself by going out with her friend, okay? Christian is obviously extremely mad at her because she defied him again, okay? By defying, I mean she was having her own life and not doing what he wanted, and he can't stand that. So he's like sulking the next morning. He rushed home, you know, and we find out that he came home angry because he found out, because you know they told him that she went out for a drink with her friend instead of coming straight home. It's not that he ran home because he found out that Jack was in his house literally trying to kidnap his wife, okay? Like as soon as he heard that she was defying him, he hopped on a plane and ran home, okay? So like his priorities are freaking shot, if you ask me. You know, they argue a lot. She berates him for being super possessive, and he's like, oh my gosh, she wants to hang out with her friends? I never thought about that. Like, bro, like you're married, you weirdo. You don't know that about her? Okay, weird. Anyway, I don't think he's ready for marriage. Like, honestly, like I know they're in love and I don't care. He is not ready for marriage because he's still acting like a dick. He surprises her. They decide to go to Aspen, Colorado, where he has like this nice ski resort, home, lodge, whatever, and he surprises her by like inviting all of her friends, all of her family. It's like a really good time for her. Her stepfather gets into an accident, and her stepfather is like her dad. Like her dad died when she was young, so this stepfather is like very like, you know, her father figure, and he gets into a car accident. He's put into a coma, and they, you know, fly out to go see him and everything. Basically that storyline really isn't like, I can't remember like anything that happens in that storyline. It's just like it's just a conflict, like a small little conflict, but it's not like a conflict between our two main characters. It's just like something weird and sad that happens, but he gets into a car accident, he gets put into a coma, and then he comes out of it and he's fine. He's like totally fine. One big thing that happens after all of that though is that Anastasia finds out she's pregnant. She had the birth control shot and she had been putting off her appointment, or like the person who manages her calendar at work had been putting it off. So that's weird. That's really freaking weird. Like, why would you not tell Anastasia that like you're putting her doctor's appointment off? And then Anastasia's like, okay, well next time like I need to know about every appointment that you reschedule for me or that you move up for me. And it's like, how did this girl like see like, okay, Dr. Smith, I don't remember the woman's name, the OBGYN who was giving her the birth control, see like appointment with Dr. Smith, and she's like, oh screw it, I'll just like move it up. It's like, it's a doctor's appointment. Like and you're not telling the boss about that you are moving around her doctor's appointments. That's so dumb. Like that's so fucked up. What's even more fucked up, however, is Christian's reaction to this information. The information being that Anastasia, his wife, is pregnant. Okay, so she has had a crazy day. You know, she finds out she's pregnant. She did not want to be pregnant right now, and she knows that Christian has talked about how he's not ready for a baby right now, and he also just like wants to enjoy their relationship without another creature in the mix, which fair, okay, understandable. But she tells him and he immediately blows up at her. I mean, he gets so mad, and like I highlighted some things. We have notes to go over after this, so just like wait for that, okay? He accuses her of doing it on purpose. Like, why did you do this to me? And it's like, girl, like it takes two to tango, and y'all are having sex, like crazy sex all the time, and he has never ever finished anywhere other than the place that you need to finish to make a baby. So it's like, girl, like, what did you expect? So he leaves. He's so mad, he gets up and leaves. He comes back like early morning. He's obviously been drinking and he's like really scared. You know, he's like, you're gonna choose the baby over me. He's like letting his true feelings out, but that's basically like his biggest worry, is that he's gonna lose Anastasia, right? Again, okay, because, you know, she left him in the first book and he couldn't handle that. She puts him to bed. You know, he comes in drunk and she's like, okay, like he needed to blow off some steam. It's not the worst thing in the world. She puts him to bed, and while she's like cleaning up his clothes on the floor, his phone falls out and she sees a text from Elena, who is Mrs. Robinson, okay, the old woman who entered into a BDSM sub-dom relationship with him when he was 15 years old, where he was the sub, okay? So he was so mad and upset about this new revelation in their relationship that instead of talking to Anna for even a second about it, he gets angry and leaves and goes to get a drink, goes to get drunk with Mrs. Robinson. I was sick. I was sick for Anastasia. Literally, I felt my heart drop out of my chest. And I'm not even invested in these characters, but that is unforgivable behavior. So now the like climax of the story is happening. He wakes up the next morning. She went to go sleep in the playroom with the door locked. She's like, he'll never check in here and all this stuff. She finally like leaves the room and she can hear him like frantically running all through the house trying to find her in the morning and everything. She goes to get ready for work and he's like, what are you doing? Like, where were you? I was so worried and all this stuff. I woke up and you weren't here. What's going on? And she's like ignoring him. And she's putting on a show of like getting ready. She's putting on like her sexiest underwear and like her nicest silk dress and her highest heels and everything, like totally like teasing him, right? But also like she's very mad at him. She's like barely speaking to him, and then she lets him know that she found out that he went to go get drinks with Elena, and that's why she's so pissed. They barely speak for the next 2 days basically. He's like, eventually the next day he's like, I have to go for like a conference, like I gotta go, you know, I gotta fly out to work, so I'll see you later. He's not apologizing, she's not apologizing. What does she have to apologize for is my question, because he's the one who left her pregnant and scared and sad, and he left her to go with his ex-mistress. Like, whatever, okay? And I don't know why he feels the need to still be mad at her over this. It's just ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. He's away on business and Anastasia gets a call and it's from Jack Hyde, okay? And he tells her that he has Mia, who is Christian's little sister, played by Rita Ora in the movie, okay? He tells her that he has Mia, she's tied up and she's been beaten and all this stuff, and he's gonna kill her unless Anastasia brings him $5 million. And she's like, where can I don't even know how to get that kind of money, like what do you mean? And he's like, figure it out, like you're a smart girl, figure it out, unless you want Mia to die. So she goes on this whole thing where she escapes her security personnel. She goes to the bank. She is like, you know, I'm Anastasia Gray. I need $5 million of my money. And they're like, absolutely, Miss Gray. We're just going to call your husband real quick. And they call him and then they bring the phone back to her. And he's like, it's kind of sad. Like, honestly, I felt like kind of sad for him, which was weird. I didn't expect myself to ever feel that emotion about Christian Grey, but I felt a little sad because he's very like pathetic on the phone. He's like, you're leaving me? And she realizes that this is the way to get the money, right? She's like, we'll talk, you know, in her head, she's like, I'll talk to him later. Right now I need him to believe this so that I can get the money so I can save Mia, right? So she's like, yes, I'm leaving you. You know, the way you acted was just terrible, and I'm taking this baby and I'm taking care of this baby. I'm choosing this baby over you and all this stuff. And he's like, just take all of it. Take anything you need. Take everything, you know? And he tells the bank that she's able to take all of the money. I don't know. It was a little weird that they called him because that's like not in Christian Grey's nature. Like, he loves her and he trusts her, and he constantly is asking her to take his money. Like, he's constantly like, buy whatever you need, please go shopping, please buy a car, buy whatever you want. So it's weird that they still felt the need to call Christian Grey, like, unless there was a note saying, if my wife tries to get out $5 million, like, please give me a call. I don't know why they would have called him, because he would have already had something on the account allowing them to give any money that Anastasia ever needed. Maybe it's just because it was such a big amount. I don't know. It doesn't matter. She takes the money. She goes out back of the bank because her security personnel has like caught up to her. And she meets with Jack Hyde and she's like, okay, here's the money. Let's let Mia go. Like, here you go. She throws the bags at him. He keeps saying stuff like, it should have been me. You know, I could have had this opportunity. I could have been Christian Grey. And she's like, what are you talking about? He like slaps her. She falls to the ground. He starts kicking her. He kicks her in the stomach. He kicks her in the ribs. Like, he's like beating her up. Okay, he's very angry that she got him fired. He got himself fired. And then if you don't want to accept the blame of your own actions, technically Christian Grey got you fired. Like, Anastasia didn't do shit but kick you in the groin for trying to come on to her in the second book, okay? So all this happens, but then Christian Grey shows up. You know, he knew that something was fishy. He's like tracking her phone. I don't know. He finds her in some way, okay? Oh, I forgot to say this. She had taken a gun that is in Christian's house. He hates guns, but this was the gun that his ex-sub, Layla... Oh, wait. There's like a whole story I forgot to tell. Okay, let me finish the story. So his ex-sub, Layla, in the second book showed up to their house to try to kill Anna with a gun. He took the gun and he just like hid it in his desk or whatever. And so she takes the gun with her to this meeting with Hyde and she shoots him in the leg before she passes out from the pain and everything because he's been beating her up. And then she's in the hospital. It seems like she's like out cold in the hospital for several days. And it's like, girl, like, oh, I think she amassed a head injury. I think that's what it was. Yeah, so she has a head injury from hitting the floor and she's like in and out of consciousness and Christian is there. She hears him ask the doctors like, what about the baby? Is the baby okay? Oh, thank God the baby's okay. And she like hears this and so she's at peace that she knows that he's gonna love the baby, like he's here for the baby and everything, and like their relationship can go forward with the baby and it'll be fine. She wakes up, she's fine, you know, she like takes time to heal from her injuries. Her ribs are like super bruised up. She is finally able to go home and Christian is like taking care of her. He's like, you know, the dutiful husband all over again. And he's like more excited to start this family with her. He has like a lot of investigators and a lot of like security personnel that have been helping him out like in the last couple of books with Jack Hyde and everything. And they are able to finish their investigation after all of this. They find out that after Christian Grey was taken from his dead mother, he was put into foster care when he was 4 and he was in a foster family with a couple of other foster kids, and Jack Hyde was one of those foster kids in that house. And then after he was in the foster home, Christian Grey was adopted by the female doctor who took care of him in the hospital. Like he had to go through the foster care system for a couple of months or whatever, and then the doctor was like, okay, like I want to adopt him, like let's start this process. And then they adopt him and that's like the family that he has, right? And then he like goes on to like do these great things and like be successful, and his family has money, you know, and all this stuff. So Jack Hyde is like super, he always like knew Christian Grey, like he always knew that name, and he's like, that's the kid, like that's the kid that I was in a foster family with. This rich family came up and came to adopt him. They left me, they didn't want me, you know, and all this stuff. So he's like always had like a vengeance for Christian Grey, but he never acted on it until Anastasia Steele showed up at his work and she wouldn't sleep with him. Okay, another thing is that we find out that Jack Hyde also has very kinky BDSM sex with all of his associates, like all of his assistants. They've all like, you know, been fired or like lasted three months, and it's like a whole thing. Anastasia, you know, clearly wasn't one of those girls, but we find out that he had been like videotaping the encounters to blackmail them later, and that's how he was like able to do all of these things, like get into the house. He had the help of one of his ex-assistants because he has this insurance and collateral over her with these videos, and he's like, I'll release these videos if you don't help me and all this stuff. And that's funny because Christian Grey does the same thing. Okay, she finds this box of photographs in the second book of all of his subs like in these like, you know, positions and everything, things being done to them, and he keeps those pictures for insurance. He's like, if they ever act out, if they ever try to come at me, like I have this in my back pocket. And he tells her, he's like, I'll get rid of it if you want me to, like it's fine, I don't need it anymore, I have you, like nothing's ever gonna happen, I feel confident in getting rid of this insurance. And she's like, whatever, like you do what you want with it. But then it's funny that like later on Jack Hyde is the same as Christian Grey, okay? And it's like, you know, they're two different sides of the same coin. You know, Christian Grey could have had Jack Hyde's life and Jack Hyde could have had Christian Grey's life. That was like kind of cool, I guess. It kind of is thrown at you like randomly at the end, but I really thought it was funny how they're both like into the same things and they both keep videos and pictures of these women to like blackmail them later. It's like Christian Grey, like, he knows that he's not morally well, but sometimes we are led to believe that he is changing and he's this good person, but then we get reminded of shit like this and it's just like, oh yeah, screw him, like he's the worst, you know? At least for me. Like, I know a lot of audience members love him and I love that for you guys, but for me, he sucks. He opens up to her. He talks to her about the relationship that he had with Elena, Mrs. Robinson, when he was 15. He talks about how she introduced control in his life and that if she had not been there to start this sub-dom relationship with him, that he would be out of control with his life. He wouldn't have amassed the success that he has. Sorry, my cat just walked in with a toy in her mouth and she's super cute. And the control that he's talking about is like when he was a teenager, he would fight a lot of people. He was still like plagued by like his mother and like the terrible things. Like, she never took care of him, you know, she was like always high and like not in the picture. And so he's basically saying like, if Mrs. Robinson hadn't have been there, then, you know, who knows where I'd be. I could probably be another Jack Hyde for all I know. And so that's just like, he just kind of clarifies the relationship with Elena, and then he's like, but don't worry, like after we hung out that night when I went to go get a drink with her, we decided not to ever see each other again and all this stuff. And it's like, I still wouldn't forgive you for that personally, but Anastasia does, and that's fine, you know, he's her baby daddy. He didn't seek Elena out that night. He went to his therapist's but he wasn't there, and then before he knew it, he was like at the salon business that he and Elena both run, like co-run or whatever. And then before he knew it, she was like, let's go get a drink, and then one drink turned to 3 bottles of wine, and then she left, and then he kept drinking bourbon, so he was like really drunk. So like nothing happened, and he like found himself there. It's not like he went out to find Elena, but he just like subconsciously went to her, okay? And I guess that's supposed to be fine. I don't know. Elena helped him realize that like he loves Anastasia, which I thought he already knew, but apparently that needed to be revealed again, and that he would be a good father and he would be fine. And yeah, so he was like all ready to become a dad and everything, but then because Anastasia was so mad at him and like they didn't talk, it's just like that whole thing was never resolved. But now that she's out of the hospital, they can talk about it, and he opens up about his past, which is all she's wanted these past 3 books. So it's like, okay, we get some clarification there, and that's that. God, okay, and then the book ends. Okay, the book is over. Like, that was the big, you know, climax and everything, her getting hurt and then being fine in the hospital. She shot Jack in the leg. He's gonna go away to jail forever. I think that's all I want to say about this. There's an epilogue where at the end she has had her baby and she's now pregnant with her second baby, and they're still having BDSM sex. Like, there's a whole scene in the epilogue while she's pregnant, and they are about to go celebrate their son's 2nd birthday. So that's how that ends. And then also in the end of the book, there is like a chapter. It's like the first chapter of how and when they met, him and Elena in the first book, but it's Christian Grey's perspective. And I think that she actually wrote a book from Christian Grey's perspective because that was super popular at the time. Like, Edward got his own Twilight book, right? So Christian Grey got his own 50 Shades of Grey book, and so there's like that at the end of it too. I pretty much skimmed it. I really didn't care about his perspective on her. But let's get into the notes because I have quite a few. For timeline purposes, they got married after knowing each other for 6 weeks. So I said this in the beginning, I liked the back and forth of like how time would move. In the first 2 books, it was literally like day 1, night 1, day 2, night 2, day 3, night 3, first 4 or 5 weeks. And then suddenly in this book, we are getting like a change of pace where it's like, I'm at my honeymoon and now I'm daydreaming about my wedding, and here's that information for the reader about my wedding, instead of having like, here's the wedding day, here's the wedding night, here's the honeymoon day 1, here's honeymoon day 2. So it was a good change of pace. There's like another time where they do that like halfway through the book where we are going back and forth for like a week of timeline, and it's like through emails because they would email each other all the time at work. You know, she's like sitting back like thinking about how nice the night before was, and then like we go to the next day and he's like emailing her about how nice that night before was, like just things like that. And I liked that change of pace a little bit. I was annoyed at all of the sex scenes because she still uses the same language. Like, it's literally, I'm reading the same scene over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes a little new something will be introduced, you know, like a little act of BDSM that like wasn't used previously, so that's there to like keep the reader entertained. But the way that it's going about, I don't know how to describe it because I'm not trying to get too explicit, but the language that she uses is exactly the same in every scene. Like every time, the way that he does something to her every time is the same way every time, okay? And he's still like so boring in the fact that he won't have sex with her in different places. Like it's still always the bedroom. She's always trying to get him to go somewhere else or have sex in like the car or whatever, something like that, and he's like, no, wait till we're in the bedroom. And it's like, you're so boring, bro, you're so boring. In the movie they actually do have sex in the car, and one of my notes was this does not happen in the book. Like this is so new because he never would have allowed that in the book. There are some times where she flips the script and Anastasia is the one who's a little possessive and scared for Christian, whereas it's always been Christian is so possessive of her and he's so scared for her. Sometimes they flip the script and, you know, now she's worried about him, so like good writing. It would be boring if that didn't happen. I cannot stand him at all because he gets angry and the language that he uses would never ever fly with me. So this is when he's angry after she went to go get the drink with Kate and he flew home and Jack had been in the house and he would have kidnapped Anastasia if she was not in the house. Okay, don't forget that. So she's trying to like, you know, apologize and everything, and he's like, I don't want to argue about it right now, Anna. And then he goes, I want to punish you, he whispers. Really beat the shit out of you, he adds. He just literally threatens her. Like, it's just not cool. Oh my gosh, okay, I cannot stand. So she still does the thesaurus thing where like the writing does not equate these lavish words that she's using in sentences randomly, like these huge words that like literally no one's ever heard of. Like you have to pull up the dictionary to understand what this word is. It's like the writing does not match that. Okay, for one thing, she keeps calling Elena the bitch troll, and then don't forget that he calls his mother the crack whore. So like the way that she talks about like bad women in this book, and I use quotations because like addiction is such a slippery slope. Like for you, I get that she was your mom, I get that, but like there's just no sympathy, there's no empathy for any of these women. And I'm not saying that Elena needs sympathy, like not at all, but maybe his mom, like anyway, yeah. So like she uses words like that to describe people, but then she also has her thesaurus just heavy-handed throughout this whole book. It's really annoying and like inconsistent. Okay, this was weird. This is what I was talking about. I forgot this part in my summary because there's one point where Layla, who was the girl that the ex-sub who tried to kill Anastasia in the last book, Christian has had her put up at a psychiatric hospital. He's like paid for her to take art classes. Like he's taking care of her from far away just so she can like be taken care of. Okay, whatever. She shows up at Anastasia's job and Anastasia's like, okay, like please like check her, like security, do a full body check, make sure she's got no weapons. And then the security also lets Christian Grey know that she's there, and Christian Grey is like very mad and everything. He's like, Anastasia, don't you dare go talk to her. But Anastasia of course does go talk to her. Layla literally admits that she manipulated this whole meeting with Anastasia so that she could see Christian, because she's like, Anastasia, can I please have permission to go see your husband? And she's like, why do you need my permission? Like he's a grown man. And she's like, well, that's just the thing, I have tried to come see him many times and he will not accept my audience, he will not see me, so why are you here? And then Layla is like, well, I'm here because I know Christian's gonna come and I want to see him. And Christian comes, okay, and he's very mad and he's like, what do you want? And Layla's like, I just want to make sure you're happy. Christian's like, I am, now go. And that's literally it. It was so weird. She also brought this other girl named Susanna, and she tells Anastasia, she's like, this is another one of Christian's subs. And she's like, we're the unsub club. And it literally goes nowhere. Like it literally, it's the most like it didn't need to be there. It really didn't need to be there because Layla was like taken care of. We knew that she's getting the help she needs, and that's fine and that's great. But now she suddenly shows up to the job to manipulate her way into seeing Christian, and then all she has to ask is, are you happy? Like, you know he's happy. Like, you know he's happy because he won't even entertain you and you have to go through his wife to be able to see him. Like, and then what's the whole thing with the unsub club? Like, I really thought that was going to come into play later and it literally didn't. It was so weird, and both of those girls were just weird. They were really weird around Christian, and Anastasia didn't seem to care. It was so weird. When her stepfather is in a coma, like he's in the hospital, and the doctor comes out and he's like, Ray Steele, which is the stepfather's name, you know, Anastasia stands up because they've been waiting to hear information on him and if he's alive and everything, and the doctor's like, you're his next of kin, the doctor asks. She goes, I'm his daughter Anna, and then he goes, Miss Steele, like about to explain what just happened to her stepfather, and he's like, Miss Steele, Mrs. Gray. Christian interrupts him. He's such a narcissist. Like literally, her stepfather could be dead. We have not heard word yet. We have been waiting in the waiting room for hours for information on him, and you have to correct her last name. Like, girl, like just so dumb, just so full of him. I can't stand him. There's a really annoying part. I thought that this would be more annoying, but thankfully they only do it a couple times, where, remember, his helicopter was like all broken in the last book, and she asks him, how is it? Like, has it been fixed? You know, he grins. Oh, she was Yar, he says, quiet pride in his voice. And then she's confused. She's like, Yar? Like, what does that mean? And he goes, it's a line from the Philadelphia Story, which is a really great film with Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and James Stewart. And he never explains what Yar means. He just says it's from like a really great movie. We'll have to watch it one day. And then for the next like couple of chapters, they keep using Yar, but we don't know what it means. Like, the only context clues we have is she's like, how was the helicopter? I ask. He grins. Oh, she was Yar, he says. So I don't know what that means. Is the helicopter dead? Is it okay? Is it perfect? Is it expensive? Like, we don't know what that means, and they never explain it to us, and like, that's on me for not remembering what it means in the movie. I get it, but like, why would you keep using this inside joke and like not tell us the joke? It's stupid. The whole series, he will be on the phone with someone doing business, and it's just like the most basic weird business talk I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's just so unbelievable, and it reminds me a lot of Vincent Adultman from BoJack Horseman. Like, that's what I think of when Christian Grey is on the phone talking business. It's just so goofy. They're like, but I thought you had a shipyard over there. I do. We're gonna use that to do the fitting out, build the holes in the Far East. It's cheaper. Oh, what about the workforce at the shipyards here? We'll redeploy. We should be able to keep redundancies to a minimum. Like, what does that mean? Like, literally, what are you talking about? Literally, like, I don't know. Maybe you understand what that means. I don't understand what that means. Something weird, weird to me personally, when she finds out she's pregnant, she's at her OBGYN. Her OBGYN is like, you know, you've missed your shot. Like, let's make sure you're not pregnant. She does the pee test, and she's like, okay, you're pregnant. She's like, in the meantime, I'd like you to start this course of folic acid and prenatal vitamins. Here's a leaflet of do's and don'ts, and I would like you back here in 4 weeks so that we can do another ultrasound and find out how far along you are and figure out a due date and all this stuff. Like, she just immediately, she's like, you're pregnant. Here are your vitamins. Here are the things that you can and can't do while pregnant, and follow up with me in 4 weeks. And I don't think that's normally how things go. Like, I get that this book was written, like, you know, a couple years ago. I would assume that normally, and because Anastasia was not, like, she clearly didn't want to be pregnant, right? Like, she was on the birth control to not be pregnant, and then she has like this just sad and like scared reaction when she finds out she is pregnant. The doctor doesn't care. Usually I would assume that the doctor would be like, you know, here are your options, here are the things that you can do. If you would like to come back for a follow-up appointment, we can you know, figure out your due date and everything. Here are the prenatal vitamins if you want to continue this pregnancy. Like, she just suddenly was just like, you're pregnant, here's everything you need to have a successful pregnancy, and I'll meet you back here in a month to figure out your due date. Like, there was no like option for her. Okay, and that definitely put a bad taste in my mouth. Okay, here is the flip out of when she tells him that she's pregnant. So he's like, I'm pregnant. He's like, how? Your shot? He snarls. Did you forget your shot? I just gaze at him, unable to speak. Geez, he's mad, really mad. Christ, Anna! He bangs his fist on the table, making me jump, and stands so abruptly he almost knocks the dining chair over. You have one thing to remember. Shit, I don't fucking believe it. How could you be so stupid? Jail, straight to jail, straight. I could not imagine my baby daddy talking to me like that. She's like, I know the timing's not very good. And he's like, not very good, he shouts. Yeah, he's yelling at her now. We have known each other for 5 fucking minutes. I wanted to show you the whole world, and now, fuck, diapers and vomit. And it's like, bro, you've known her for 5 minutes? Yeah, we know you've known her for 5 minutes. That's the problem with this book. Like, every time I think that he might be chill, he goes to 100, right? Like, I thought, okay, he's gonna be scared, but he's gonna, like, I literally, every time she does something that's gonna piss him off, I'm like, okay, like, we've grown, we've taken a couple steps forward, she's helped him a little bit, he's going to therapy, like, it's fine, you know, she did this thing, but maybe, I really had hope every time, maybe he'll react like a normal person, and no, every time he goes 100. Ew. Okay, while she's in the hospital, right, she's been recovering in the hospital, she's awake, she's been using the bathroom, like, she's fine, she's been eating and everything, and she's like about to be discharged, and ew, this is so weird. Christian asks for a quick word in private with her doctor. It says he keeps the door ajar as he asks her a question. She smiles, the doctor. Yes, Mr. Gray, that's fine. He grins and returns to the room, a happier man. What was that all about? That's Anastasia. Sex, he says, flashing a wicked grin. I blush. And you're good to go, he smirks. So, like, literally, your wife and your baby almost could have died because she had brain injury, okay? She had a brain injury and she was kicked in the stomach. Like, she could have at least lost the baby, and that would have been just terrible for both of them, right? And I get that she's about to be discharged, and I get that sex is a very important part of their relationship. But the fact that you asked the doctor on her way out before your wife's about to get discharged, when can we have sex? Like, maybe get your wife home, make sure she's comfortable, take the day, you know, let her rest a bit, and then if you guys want to have sex, like, maybe call the doctor and be like, hey, just want to make sure, is she cleared? Because when they get home, they don't go right immediately into sexy time. Like, he bathes her, he puts her to bed, like, he takes care of her, he makes her wait several days before they do anything because she's so bruised up. So it's just like, why even ask? Like, why even, like, you're so weird, bro. I thought it was so funny about the blackmail thing. I already talked about this, but it was in my notes that he had insurance over his ex-subs with the photographs that he took unknowingly of them. Wait, actually, I think that we do find out that they did know that the photos were being taken, and Jack Hyde's videos, they didn't know that the videos were being taken, and then he would threaten them with the videos later to, like, get them to do what he wants. So, like, at least the girls were consensual to the photos from Christian, but he still planned on using them as insurance, and then he's like, you know, Jack, like, we could have been the same person, and it's just so funny, like, for him to realize that. The mommy issues go so hard in these books, so hard. There was a ransom note that was left halfway through the book, and it said something like, do you know who I am? Because I know who you are, baby bird. And it's, like, written in, like, the newspaper letters, right? And he's like, oh, I know what that's from now, because he remembers his time in the foster family. He didn't remember it until the investigator came to him with that information, and they had, like, photos with Jack in the foster family. Like, it was a photo of the whole family, right? And he says that it's from a kid's book. The Colliers had it. It was called Are You My Mother? Oh my gosh, his eyes widen. I loved that book. It's just like, it's so funny because he's like, his favorite book was Are You My Mother? And then his mom had this addiction and she couldn't, like, really take care of him. And that's, like, the whole point of the book is that, you know, now he goes after women who look like his mom so that he can beat up his mom through these women. Okay, it's not that he wants to have a healthy sub-dom relationship. Remember, it's because he wants to beat up women who look like his mother. I thought it was so funny. My final note is there's an author's note at the end of it. It says, I am aware that today you cannot walk into an American bank and withdraw $5 million. The conversation Anna did not hear went like this. So she's like preemptively saying, look, I know that what I wrote is not realistic, so let me just give you some context. And then it's like a whole conversation that Christian Grey had with the bank manager, and he tells her, like, to have all of it and to take all the money and everything. Like, he gives the permission to let her withdraw $5 million. And it's just, I thought that that was funny that the author felt the need to do that. Like, you could have just, like, it's fine. It's whatever. Maybe she was scared of people, like, talking crap. I don't know. Okay, I have just a few notes for the movie. This video is so long. I'm so sorry that you're sitting through this, but thank you so much for sitting through this. Like, really, if you're watching this right now, I love you. So in the story, at one point, one of Jack Hyde's ex-subs is following and chasing them and all this stuff. She's the one who helps them out later at the end when he gets the 5 million and he had kidnapped Mia. Like, she's the one who helped kidnap Mia and all this. Christian and Anna are being chased, and in the movie it's literally the worst chasing of all time. It's so boring. Like, it's crazy how boring. Like, there's so many high stakes and crazy things that happen in these stories, like, you know, the helicopter breaking down and Christian almost dying and Anastasia almost dying and shooting Jack and this car chase, and it's literally just the worst car chase I've ever seen. They really did a good job of making this all just so boring. I already said this movie is unrealistic because he lets them have sex in the car, which would have never happened in the book. There are so many like plot lines that go nowhere, that are so confusing. It's like, do I even want to mention them here? I'll just mention this one. So his brother Elliot has been dating her friend Kate, like the whole books. Okay, like all 3 books they've been dating. Christian and Anastasia have bought a house and they employ this woman named Gia to like help them renovate it. She has like all these plans and everything. She comes on to Christian and Anastasia's like, look honey, don't touch my man. You will address me as Mrs. Gray and all this stuff. Like, she really stands her ground because she sees that Gia's been flirting. And then when they are on vacation in Aspen, she sees that Elliot, who is his brother, just like walks out of a store and hugs Gia. And so she kind of tells Christian this, and he's like, oh, I'm not surprised because him and Gia have like hooked up before, and he is, you know, he's actually hooked up with half of Seattle, like he's a playboy and all this stuff. And then later on, Elliot asks Kate to marry him. And like, what was the whole plot line with him and Gia? Like, what was the point of that? Like, she sees him possibly being unfaithful to Kate, and like it literally goes nowhere. Like, it literally, like, what was the point of seeing them out together? Like, what was he doing with her? We never ever find out what he was doing with her. It's so weird. And these movies are so boring. Like, they just do such a bad job of building tension and like being cool. It's just terrible. So in the book, when she is at the bank to get the $5 million, he is very sad. You know, he's like, are you breaking up with me? Are you leaving me? And she's like, she has to say yes because she knows that he'll let her take the money. If she says, no, I'm not leaving you, then he'll be like, well, why do you need the money? And Jack had told her, don't involve your husband, you know, if you do, Mia will die and all this stuff. So she's like, I know I have to lie to him right now. We can like resolve it later, but I have to let him believe that I'm leaving him. And she puts on like a really great show when they're both crying and it's like really sad. And it's like, okay, she's leaving him, and he's like, take all the money, take everything you need, it's fine. But then in the movie, he's on the phone with her, you know, the bank's like, ma'am, your husband's on the phone. And she picks up the phone and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, nothing. And he's like, are you leaving me? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay. And that's it. Like, it's literally like so boring, man, so boring. I just really am never able to take him seriously. Like, sorry to Jamie Dorian, like, he's just the most undominant looking man I've ever seen in my life. He really needs to be typecasted for like Prince Charming-esque roles. Like, he does not have a dominant looking bone in his body, and like anytime he's being dominant, it's just so goofy because I literally can't take it seriously. I really can't. He looks like a little doughy boy, you know, like he's not dominant looking. That's all I'm gonna say. At the end, we won because at the end we get a movie montage. Something about me is that I love movie montages. You know, she's like looking at him longingly and she's remembering how they met when she fell into his office, and then like how their relationship has progressed and all this stuff. And Ellie Goulding's Love Me Like You Do is playing in the background, and it's like, I love those moments because I love them for fans. Like, I really think about like the women who love these books and who went to the midnight screenings and, you know, went to the midnight book releases and just like had book clubs and like met new people and made new friends from the books. At the end of it all, you know, the final movie, the end of the final movie, and then there's like a movie montage. Like, I just imagine them like so happy and crying and like, oh, I love this book series so much and I love everything that's happened to me since I've read it. And I really love that for them because I love reading and I love that there's so much out there for everyone, and you can love what you want to love, and that's so great. And I love that so much, you know. Don't let my stinky little opinions yuck your yum, okay? Because that's not what I'm ever here to do. I'm just giving my simple opinion on it. If you love these books, if you love these movies, I legitimately love that for you, okay? And you guys, that's it. That's all I have to say. I have said enough, and I'm gonna end this video now. Thank you so much for watching this series. I can't say I had a great time doing it, but I definitely am glad that I did it, okay? So again, thank you so much. If you like this video and you have not subscribed yet, you can definitely do that. If you want to follow me on any other social medias, all my links are down below. Thank you again so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!